Welcome to another episode of Coachpeanut and the Nutty Bunch Sports Talk Show, where we take you around the diamond to keep you updated on all the past week's events, preview what's coming up, and even help you with your fantasy lineups. Let's head down to the dugout and check in with Coach Peanut and the Nutty Bunch. Live from Piketon, Ohio, here's your host, Coach Peanut.
All right, it's Tuesday night, so you know what that is, another edition of Coach Peanut Sports Talk Show. And Matt, just to answer your question real quick, it's a Coach Peanut on Twitch. Everybody out there watching, in case you haven't got it, Coach Peanut on Twitch. It's on Twitter, Instagram, everything like that. So what I was asked to do is go around Ohio and find the best, sports fans for the American League preview show. Unfortunately, all of them were busy, so I got what we got here. Welcome everybody, and thank you so much for being on again, and I appreciate it. So let's go around. We'll meet everybody. Matt, how are you doing?
I'm good. Sorry I missed last week. I'm going to plug in my National League picks real quick.
Go right ahead. Who you got here?
We're not going to debate too much about the fact you see the Marlins winning the NL East for the first time in franchise history. Let that one go. And your your National League champion LA Dodgers. Not too much of a stretch there. But this is an American League show, so I'll kick it back over.
Yeah. So send me those picks so I can keep them with everybody's picks from last week, and we'll see. I'd love to see the Marlins win. That'd be great. So
look out
Jeremy,
for the fish this year.
It could be. You never know. Great pitching staff. So what's going on, Jeremy?
Oh, not too much. Just got home from work.
Oh, yeah. That's what we all been doing, I think.
Yep.
Richard, are you froze or are you there? I'm thinking he's froze or he's in a deep thought here. I think Matt really stung him with that Marlins pick. I don't know what's going on here.
Yes.
You there, Richard?
Well, yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. No, I just lagging out a little bit for whatever reason.
Jim.
Yeah, I'm just.
Yeah, Jim has a problem too. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. He said he has great internet connection and he has these problems too, only with this. So I'm not sure what it is. Hopefully we can figure it out. But Andrew here is already calling the Jays taking number one in AL. So I think we might have something in common when we go through these picks. So first thing we'll do is before we get to the actual picks is we're going to go through what happened last year just to give everybody a reminder. We had in the American League East, you had Tampa Bay, then Boston, then New York, then Toronto and Baltimore. And Boston, New York, and Toronto separated by one game, all three. I mean, that was a great ending to that division. It came down to the last weekend. I mean, any of those teams could have went all the way. I mean, it was a great division. So close, except for Baltimore.
Don't forget the Mariners were in the hunt, too. They were one of those teams that could have grabbed that last wild card spot as well. We had that fever out here in Seattle. I was going to games that whole weekend. First time they've been in the playoff hunt in 20 years. So, it was a fantastic final week of the season last year.
Yeah, because they only lost the division by 5 games. So we'll go to the American League Central. You had the White Sox, the only team in the division with a winning record. They went 93-69. The Guardians, well, actually, I can call them the Indians because they were the Indians last year. They finished second at 80-82. Then you had Detroit, Kansas City, and Minnesota had a lot of injuries. So I think they were a lot better than a last place team last year. Then you got the American League West. You had Houston at 95-67, and you had those Seattle Mariners at 90-72. Then Oakland, the Angels, and then Texas. So that was the standings. Then you had the American League wild card. You had the Red Sox beat the Yankees, which I'm sure Richard might have liked that game. Then you had the American League Division Series, the Red Sox over Tampa Bay. Then Houston over Chicago. Then Houston beat the Red Sox in the American League Championship, 4-2. And then they went on to lose to the Braves in the World Series. So that's your American League recap. So what we'll do is we'll go down through each division, team by team, first before we make our predictions, and we'll talk about like who lost who and who gained who. So we'll start with the American League East and Tampa Bay. I got Toronto pulled up first. Toronto added some really good pieces: Matt Chapman, Ramil Tapia, Kevin Gosman, and Kikuchi. But they did lose some players. They lost Randall Grichuk, Marcus Semien, which is a huge loss because he's there every game pretty much. Robbie Ray, the Cy Young winner, and Steven Matz. So what do you guys think? Did it get better or did it get worse?
I'll go first. I have the Jays winning the East as well, so no challenge here. They're all a year older, and I would say net even. I'd say they're about the same. Losing Robbie Ray hurts, but they added some pitching depth as well. The reason why they win the East, I just think that the Rays take a step backwards, and the Jays are right on the cusp in a year of. Keep in mind the Jays played in 3 home stadiums last year. I think 1 year in their whole home stadium is going to help them as well. So I say Jays net even, but circumstances around them are better. Hence, you got AL East champions.
Yeah. So, Richard, did it get better or worse, do you think? Now, I know what you're hoping. I'm asking what actually happened.
So for me, I'm with Marvin. You get a year older and more experience. It's definitely a good thing. There's a lot of people out there thinking that they can potentially do with Kikuchi kind of what they did with Robbie Ray last year. If you remember, Robbie Ray before he got to Toronto was terrible. So, I mean, if they can go and they can get, some frontline starters there, find a way to replace Semien and get through this division, which is going to be just a gauntlet again. It's really anybody's race. I think you still got to pick the Rays because they just seem to find a way every single year. They've got so many prospects and things, but Toronto, I can't argue with anybody that picks Toronto.
Yeah. Jeremy, what do you think?
I kind of feel the same way that Richard and Mattis said already. And like Richard said, it's going to be a super competitive division all year between 4 teams.
Yeah. Baltimore obviously is not ready to contend yet.
Right.
So you got the Red Sox. They added Trevor Story, huge signing. They added Jackie Bradley Jr., which he's played great in Boston before, and a couple of under the radar signings that could work out really well since they've already dealing with Chris Sale being hurt. Is they signed Rich Hill and James Paxton. So James Paxton, as Marvin knows from Seattle, was a great young pitcher, but he's just never really lived up that potential. But he could in Boston. You just never know. They did lose some big bats. They lost Hunter Renfroe, who had over 30 home runs last year. Kyle Schwarber, big year for him too. They lost a good starting pitcher in Eduardo Rodriguez, a good middle reliever in Adam. I don't even know how to say it, Ottavino. I feel they got better. What do you guys think?
Well, I'll start with this one, obviously.
Yeah.
For me, it's all about the pitching. They've still got the heart of the line out. Xander Bogaerts is probably the most underrated shortstop in the league. Trevor Story coming in to play second base. Devers at third, especially with Alex Cora there. Another year at JD, being bought in. The offense is there. It's there, and they've got some great offensive prospects coming up too. They have no pitching depth. They have none. And they didn't go get any. They didn't have a bullpen last year. They don't have a bullpen this year. So they're going to have to win a lot of 10 to 8 games. They've proven they can do it. And I don't see a pitching staff in this division besides maybe Tampa that really scares me. So, I mean, they can certainly do it, but it's going to be a tough road, especially if, with Chris Sale getting put on the 60-day injured list today.
Yeah, I mean, that really hurts them. I mean, like you said, though, the offense, there's not a weak spot really in their offense. I mean, even though they've got a young guy at first, he's supposed to be really good this year too. Bobby Dahlback. So we'll talk about the Yankees. Oh, I didn't give you guys a chance to talk about the Red Sox. What do you guys think, Marvin and Jeremy? Sorry about that.
I think they'll be a wild card team. I think Tanner Huck could be a sleeper for their pitching depth, Richard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going with you guys. I'm going to say they're a wild card team. Keep in mind the Red Sox weren't supposed to win last year. Nobody took them to make the playoffs, and so they're not a very strong team. They're a team who overperformed last season. I think they perform about the same level this year. One other thing I want to add is don't count on anything from James Paxton. He had Tommy John surgery a year ago. It's usually 18 month turnaround time. He's probably not even going to be on the mound until after the All-Star break. If they're lucky, he might give them some innings in like August, September. But yeah, their pitching staff. But their pitching staff is worse. Their offense is awesome. They're a 10 game over 500 wild card team.
But you know as well as I do, if we get to the trade deadline and they're still in contention, which obviously they will be, you know, they've got the resources to go get whoever they want. You know, make that big trade. They got the great young, talent they can pull from, and they'll get some pitching, I'm sure, if they're still in contention, which they will.
Well, so two quick things there. One, under Alex Cora, they've always underperformed. Probably the best manager in the major leagues outside of maybe Terry Francona from somebody else's team that I won't name. But the other thing you got to understand is Chaim Bloom comes from that Tampa Bay family, and he's not going to trade a lot of his prospects. And, they've got some nice top shelf prospects, but they don't have a whole lot of depth to trade from. It really is kind of just, find what they, work with what they've got, and maybe there's some bad contracts or something there that they can throw some money at. But I don't really look for this to be more than kind of a transition year like it was last year, and just hope for that overperformance again.
And you got to think too, with all these big crazy contracts that are being signed, people are going to hold on to their youngsters probably a lot more so they can afford to have them for that 4 or 5 years for sure. When they come up, because they got to do something to be able to afford some of these players. So we'll go to the other Richard's favorite team, the Yankees, and let's talk about how they signed Josh Donaldson. That's really their main signing. They've signed a few middle of the road type people. One of my old fantasy favorites, Ender Inciarte, but that's nothing. Basically they got Josh Donaldson. That's the main one. But if you look at everything they lost Rougned Odor. They lost Clint Frazier. Didn't have a big year, but he's got a lot of potential. They lost Gary Sanchez, Gio Urshela. They lost Luke Voigt. They lost Brett Gardner, Andrew Haney, and Corey Kluber, which depends on which version of Corey Kluber we're talking about. But, they lost a lot of good pieces. So, to me, I feel they got worse. What do you guys think?
I would agree with that. I think so, but I'm sure they'll still compete for a wild
It's
card.
The Yankees.
It's
right.
the Yankees, yeah.
So
I'm going to do a hard –
I'll
jump in. I'm going to do a hard disagree. That list you gave of guys who are gone, nobody's going to star anywhere. Like, they got Odor off waivers the previous year. And you didn't point it out, but Rizzo was not guaranteed to be a Yankee this year. So re-signing him, I think, was a pretty huge move. I don't think they lost a ton with their pitching. I actually have them finishing pretty comfortably ahead of the Red Sox. I think this is your clear-cut number one wildcard team in the American League. Obviously, the pressure's high. The talent's there. They're not as loaded the free agents as they normally are, but I'm going to say this team is the best non-division winner in baseball.
I can't argue with that too much. I just listed the bigger names. There was a lot of other ones that they lost too, but that's just the main ones. So, Richard, are you happy to see all those players leave the team?
So here's the thing with the Yankees is I think they've got a real identity crisis because when you think back to the Yankees of, the Jeter days, they were built with a very strong farm system. That core of Posada, Jeter, Bernie Williams, those were Mariano Rivera. Those were all farm guys, and they put some other pieces around them. Their farm guys have not performed.
No.
Judge is injured a lot. You've got Clint Frazier, who they were never able to develop. Gary Sanchez, who was supposed to be a star, they were never able to develop. I'm gonna go the other way, and maybe this is my fandom kicking in, but I'm gonna actually, with this division, I'm gonna pick them to not make the postseason. I'm gonna say that we are gonna have 3 teams come out of the division. There's gonna be but they're gonna be left out because I don't trust their pitching. Garrett Cole, of course, is amazing, but we know anybody can get hurt. Tyon's got a lot of potential, but a lot of injury risk. They're putting a whole lot of pressure on Severino to come back and be healthy. And I don't think that this is the offensive juggernaut that it should be, honestly. And the moves that they made for this offseason were all for defense. And I mean that's all nice and good and everything if you're, the Tampa Bay Rays, but what Connor Falefa is not going to sell a lot of Yankees jerseys.
No.
I don't know that. I'm really, really down on this team and think they really need to find an identity. They either need to buy all the big free agents or they need to build a farm system. Right now, I don't feel like they've got either one.
They've kind of traded away a lot of their good talent just to get some pieces, and it's really not worked out a lot. So we'll go to Tampa Bay, and they've added Corey Kluber, but you look at the list of some of these other ones that they've added, and it's nothing really major. But they've really they've lost Joey Wendell, but Joey Wendell, he had a good year last year, but then they lost Nelson Cruz, so you're going to have to replace 30 home runs right there. And now they just traded away Austin Meadows yesterday, who also had 27 home runs and 106 RBIs. So that's a big bat to lose too. They've lost 2 big bats, but they're bringing up Josh Lowe, who's a good talent, and to try to replace him. So who knows if that's going to work out. They did lose Tyler Glasnow all year to Tommy John. He might be back at the later end of the year for like middle relief. They did bring in Chris Archer. Or actually, they lost Chris Archer. I'm sorry, they lost Chris Archer. So other than that, there's nothing really big going on with Tampa Bay. But like Richard mentioned before, they always seem to be right there. They're filled with a lot of great talent, but no big names. So, what do you guys think about Tampa Bay?
That's my second place team in this division and a wild card team, honestly.
Matt, what do you got them finishing? Or actually, we're going to do the predictions here in a minute. Do you think they got better or worse? Let's start there.
Yeah, so I think they got worse. People forget that Tampa Bay won 100 games last year. I don't know how they won 100 games, but I feel like they went backwards. But they've got the secret sauce in Tampa Bay, right? Like you get rid of your stars and they're still like just as strong. So it's hard to say. But when they unloaded Meadows, I had that vibe of this is a team who's fire sailing, stocking up for the future with talent. But they are pretty high up on Josh. I think he's pronounced Lou. I don't know. There's a Low and a Low.
Like Lowe. So I'm not sure which one it is.
Hopefully we'll learn his name by the end of the year because he should be a pretty good outfielder.
So he's going to make the opening day roster now, so we'll find out here tomorrow.
But I have him out of the playoffs. Thursday. I have this team ahead of Baltimore, of course. That's not a hard pick, but that's the only team I have them ahead of. I think they slip.
Okay. Richard, what do you think?
So I think the Rays are built for 162 games. They do a lot of platoons. They do a lot with their relievers. They really maximize their advantages over 162 games. And I think that really helps them in the regular season. And I think the fact that they don't have stars really shows up in the postseason. So like I said before, I've got them winning the division. I think they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs, but they're just so loaded with mid-level guys and controlled players. They just reload and reload and reload.
Yeah, because like you say, you lose an Austin Meadows, but then you got minor leaguers to jump right in there, so it's like it's no big deal to them, like it is on some other teams. But and then we've got to talk about Baltimore. They are in the division. Their big signing was Odor. We mentioned him earlier, but the only players they really lost was Matt Harvey, which is a shell of his former self. He's nothing like he used to be. And Pedro Severino actually got released off this team, and then he ended up with an 80-game suspension anyway. So Baltimore, a young team that's really nowhere near contending in this division, I feel. What do you guys think about Baltimore?
Not worth talking
So-
about.
I know. I mean, they got young talent. They really do.
Yes.
So one thing I found interesting, whenever you go and you look at the Vegas win totals, Baltimore was picked. Baltimore won 52 games last year. They're
Right.
actually picked to win. They're over under 62.5. That's a 10-game spike in a really tough division.
Yeah.
And they have made some changes to their ballpark this offseason to make it a little more pitcher friendly. They made one of the, I believe I heard it was the second or third biggest fence move from one season to another in baseball
Wow.
history.
Huh.
So this is a team they've potentially got an ace in, John Means. They've got some pieces. I don't think they're anywhere near contending, but could they be a team that could knock a Rays, a Red Sox, a Blue Jays out of the playoffs? By being, instead of being, somebody that, somebody wins 13, 14 games against out of the 19. Instead it's 10-9 in the season series. It's certainly possible.
It is. I mean, anything could happen in that final week, just like what happened last year. I mean, you just never know. So
Yeah,
we won't waste too much time on Baltimore, unless you got something on Baltimore. Go ahead.
Real quick, clearly the worst team in the league. I know 2 teams lost 110 games last year. If you're a fan of any other team, just as long as you finish ahead of the Orioles, you're not the worst team in baseball.
There you go. So we'll start with you, Richard. Give me your predictions for this division.
I've got Tampa Bay winning the division. I've
Okay.
got the Blue Jays being the second best team in the division.
Okay.
I've got the Red Sox just squeaking in a wild card over the Yankees. And I've got the Yankees watching from the house with the Orioles.
Okay. Matt, what do you got?
Yeah, so we got the official written down proof here.
Got
Jays,
Toronto.
I think Yankees finish ahead of Red Sox. They both make the wild card. I think the Rays slip. I think their magic's going to fall a little bit this year, but you guys have all convinced me they're not as buried as I thought they were. And then you've got Baltimore.
Yeah. Jeremy, what do you got?
I have Toronto winning the division,
Okay.
Tampa Bay in second, Boston third, New York fourth. The 2 through 4 you could probably flip flop depending on how to play, and then Baltimore.
And Baltimore, yeah, we all agree it's a guarantee, a Coachpeanut guarantee that Baltimore's finishing last because I'm picking them too. I've got Toronto winning the division, and I struggled with Boston, New York, Tampa Bay, but I picked Boston because I think the offense is just going to be so great this year. I got Boston second, New York third, and Tampa fourth, missing the playoffs like Matt picked, and of course Baltimore next. So we all are similar, but that 3 through 5 there is just. It'll come down to that last weekend again, probably. I mean, they're so good. You can't just sit there and argue one is that much better than the other, really. I mean, it's going to be a good division to watch. So let's go to the American League Central. So last year, you had the White Sox, Guardians, Detroit, Kansas City, Minnesota. So let's start with the White Sox, and we'll see if they got better or worse. The White Sox, they just traded the other day for A.J. Pollock. They just signed Joe Kelly and Vincent Velasquez. That's really the main ones that they signed. They lost Cesar Hernandez and they lost Carlos Rodon, which is, Carlos Rodon was 13-5 with a 2.37 ERA, 185 strikeouts. So that's going to be a tough one to replace. They didn't really sign any starting pitcher to replace him. So what do you guys feel about the White Sox?
And Lance Lynn just got hurt.
Lance Lynn just got hurt. Yes, Lance Lynn just got hurt. Didn't mention that. Yeah. So, Richard, did they get better or worse?
I think they got better, but not because they're better, but because I think the division is worse.
Yeah, because they get to play all the other bad teams so much, Yeah, yeah.
So I think, Vince Velasquez could very well be an absolute dud, or he could be very Carlos Rodon-ish.
Mm-hmm.
130 innings with some high strikeout numbers. But they're a team built very much like the Red Sox. They're just going to bash the ball, and they've got a
Right.
ballpark they can do it in.
Mm-hmm. A lot of high-scoring games either way. Yeah. So, Marvin, what do you think about the White Sox?
So first of all, represent. I think that they're
Ooh.
the team to beat in the American League. Tony La Russa is a great manager who tends to go really deep into the postseason. They are young. They smash the heck out of the baseball. They've got the top player offensively at almost every position around that lineup, and their pitching has a couple of aces. Their bullpen took a hit with Garrett Crochet going down for the year. And like you said, their starting rotation might not be as good this year as last year. But this team showed us last season they'll stock up at the deadline, so they will enter the postseason with a really strong bullpen, a strong couple of starters, and a great lineup. Like, this team is the most clear-cut team to win the division in all of the American League.
Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. Kind of like what Richard said. They got better, but I think the division got worse.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think they got a couple young pitchers that could help the rotation. I mean, there could be future aces in Kopech and Cease. So
yeah. So we'll talk about my Guardians next because they finished second last year. Their free agent signings are. Oh wait, they didn't sign any. Oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, they signed a backup catcher who got injured within a week of signing. So I won't even mention him. But literally nothing else. But really they only lost Roberto Perez. That was it. The rest of the players were nobody really that mattered anyway. So it's a matter of, did the young players get better, or are they still that much farther out of contention? So Richard, what do you think about the Guardians?
So I am actually, now I'll preface this by saying I'm a huge fan of Terry Francona and this front office. Right. They are a team that's built on pitching and defense, and I believe that they're going to pitch their way to being a player in this division. I believe Bieber is and actually I'm probably going to pick the Indians to win, or the Guardians to win this division, because I just think that they have pitching wins championships, man.
It does.
And they've got a guy that knows how to use it. They've got a couple great pieces at the back of the bullpen, and they're going to win a lot of 2-1, a lot of 3-2 games, but they're going to hang around, and that's very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, they've got good 5 starting pitchers. You got Bieber, Quantrell, Plesac, Savali, and Tristan McKenzie. And then even after that, they've got some really good players coming up that's really close in the minors. So if they do get injured, I think they're going to be okay. But it's the offense that scares me to death. I mean, you got Jose Ramirez and Franmil Reyes. Bobby Bradley's supposed to be great at first base, but he's not really done a lot yet. The outfield is mostly speed and defense. They don't have a lot of offense in their outfield. So I was really hoping they would have got Austin Meadows. If he was, got that cheap from, Detroit, I just wish they would have got him. But Jeremy, did the Guardians get better or worse? What do you think?
I don't necessarily say they got better, but if they trade Ramirez, they're definitely going to get worse.
It depends on what they get. And I don't want to see him trade away Jose Ramirez. I really don't. But from what I read today, Toronto is supposed to be coming at them with this really strong package that I don't want to see it happen. But I also don't want to see them wait until next year and get nothing like they did with Lindor. If they're going to do it this year, because he's got 2-year control. They'll get a lot more out of him this year. I don't want to see it. I'd love to see him sign a long-term deal, but they're not going to do it.
I'm going the opposite direction with everybody here.
Okay.
We're talking about the last place Cleveland Guardians right now. This is the worst team in the Central. Keep in mind, only 7 games separated the Guardians from last place last season. It's not like there's a huge disparity between them and the rest of the league.
Right.
So yeah, you got to have more than 2 bats in your lineup. They don't.
Yeah, they don't. And
your pitching has to stay healthy, and they haven't. Bieber missed a ton of time last year. McKenzie's a question mark. No, this is the last place team. Will they be better than the Orioles? Yes, Dennis, you're better than the Orioles. Congrats. Not many other teams, though.
Yeah.
I might be in agreement with Marvin on that when it come prediction time.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see. You got the Minnesota Twins next. So Minnesota went out and got a lot of good bats. They got Carlos Correa. They got Gary Sanchez. They got Gio Urshela. They also went and got a few pitchers: Sonny Gray, Dylan Bundy, and Chris Archer. Which depends on which Chris Archer you get. They did lose Andrelton Simmons. They did lose Josh Donaldson. Michael Pineda, I wrote him down only because he did actually technically lead the team in wins last year with 9. So you lost your winning pitcher there, so I had to write him down. But Minnesota Twins, what do you guys think of the Twins, Richard?
I think the Twins are going to this is just going to blow up in their face. They've got to decide a direction. They've either got to go for it or they've got to blow it up. Gina Urshela is not going for it. I'm not a big Correa fan. I like the way they structured his contract to get him in there, but he's probably gone next year. There's a chance that this team could be real bad and he could get moved at the deadline. I don't think. I don't like this team. Matter of fact, I like the Tigers better than them. I'm just not a fan of this team at all. And I don't think they have an identity. I don't think they've got pitching, and I don't think they've got enough offense.
Jeremy, what do you think of the Twins?
I kind of like their pitching. The couple young guys, Ober and Ryan, to go with Sonny Gray, I think would be pretty good.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I love having the disagreeing. That's what makes it fun.
I'm with Richard. I'm not big on Correa, and that could blow up in their face.
But he is better than Andrelton Simmons.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I do like Polanco, but you can't keep Buxton healthy, and you got to get something out of Kirilloff. So we'll see.
That's the thing. If Buxton could play 162 games, oh man, could you imagine his numbers? Oh my gosh,
he could be in the MVP race.
Yeah, but he can't stay healthy. He just can't. True. Marvin, what do you think?
He can play 162 games. It just takes 3 seasons.
Yeah, I think Buxton is the greatest April fantasy baseball player in history.
Yeah.
But no, if you get bored, put this Cleveland lineup and Minnesota lineup side by side. That just tells the whole story right there. These guys can bash the baseball. I don't think their pitching's terrible. Pineda actually was a solid starter considering how not good of a pitching staff they had last year. I like Minnesota to get a little bit better and to be middle of the division. Maybe they're in the wild card hunt. But yeah, I think they're a better team. Don't hate on Correa too much. That Minnesota is a good place for hitters to hit. So I think Correa is going to have some good numbers, even if he gets traded at the deadline.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we'll go to Detroit Tigers. Detroit added Javier Baez. They added Tucker Barnhart. They added a good starting pitcher, Eduardo Rodriguez, and they just added yesterday Austin Meadows. So they added some pop in their lineup. They did lose Nomar Mazara, which he didn't have a big year last year, but he is a good young player. They lost Matthew Boyd. So that's really all they lost. So what do you guys think of Detroit? They got Spencer Torkelson coming up. So
I think this is a decent team, actually, for this division. I'd like to see what Torkelson's going to do. I like the fact that he broke camp with him. Hopefully he sticks all year, and I like the addition of Rodriguez to go with the couple young pitchers they got, Scooble and Mize.
Yeah,
and picking up Meadows is a good pickup.
Yeah. Marvin, what do you think of Detroit?
I'm with Jeremy here. I am really excited about this Detroit team. When I was going through picking my Mariners games to see this year, Detroit was up at the top of this list. They brought in a bunch of talent. They had a bunch of under the radar strong seasons last year, and they've got so much young prospects all over the place. I like them a lot. They're the team who's going to compete with the White Sox for this division, and they're built to win for years to go. So Eduardo Rodriguez, ace from Boston, brought over here. Michael Pineda, ace from Minnesota, brought over here. Scooble is going to be top 10 starter in the next 2 or 3 years. I think this kid has got some talent.
Mhm.
Casey Mize was the first overall pick 2 or 3 seasons ago. He's a great number 3. I'm excited about this team.
Richard,
Very, very underrated outfield, just to put that out there.
what's up, Gabe, Zach, and Sarah? Good, Richard.
So for me, this is a team that smelled blood in the water. They, saw an opportunity to take a shot at this division, and they're going for it. Baltimore's still rebuilding, and Detroit said, "Nope, it's time to go." They went and they got Austin Meadows, who, I think is going to be a great, add some pop. Ed Rodriguez and Pineda are good middle of the rotation guys. I don't think they're aces. I think for this team to go to the next level, Mize or Scooble or both have got to step up. But there's a potential that that's your next Verlander Scherzer combo there. I mean, I'm very high on both of those guys. And I really think that this Detroit team is, they're gonna be a really tough out. I don't know that they're quite ready yet, but they're gonna be a really tough out.
Yeah, I agree. Then we've got Kansas City. Really, all Kansas City. They brought Zach Greinke back, which is cool. He's going to be their opening day starter. They did bring in Amir Garrett, which coming from a lot of it, the Reds fans here. But all they really lost was Mike Minor, which again, he is the leading pitcher on their team last year in wins with 8. So I have to mention him. But Kansas City, what do you got? What's your guys' thoughts on Kansas City?
I'm excited to see Bobby Witt in the majors.
Yeah, he's going to start there. He'll be their starting third baseman Thursday. So, there's not a lot else to talk about on Kansas City, really.
As a former Cleveland Indian, how excited are you about Carlos Santana still sticking around in the league and possibly contributing? But yeah. No, I'm not too high in the Royals. It will be fun to see what Witt does. They have some young talent like Mondesi, Merrifield. Pitching staff is very blah. Don't forget Salvador Perez is the greatest catcher since Mike Piazza for fantasy teams.
For fantasy teams, yes, for sure. If he stays healthy. The one time he did, look what he did. So, Richard, what's your thoughts on Kansas City?
For me, this Kansas City team, first off, thank you, Kansas City, for being probably one of 2 or 3 teams in the majors that brings your prospects up whenever they're ready.
I love it.
I love it. I mean, it's really the way. It's probably not the smart move financially for them, but it's the way it should happen.
Yeah.
If I would throw my laptop out the window if they just said Bobby Witt needed to work on his defense for 3 weeks.
O'Neal Cruz gets sent down in Pittsburgh. Like, he still needs work. I understand he only had a couple games in AAA last year, but look at the dude. He's ready.
Yeah, he's ready.
Well, you're going to tell me O'Neal Cruz is not one of the 26 best players on the Pirates?
Exactly.
I mean, that's the way I judge it. To me, I mean, the Royals are not going to contend for this division, but in a very Baltimore-esque way, they've got a middle of the lineup that could make some noise. I'm really big on Hunter Dozier. He was really good a couple of years ago. He had a little bit of a down year last year, but I think Hunter Dozier could be really, really good. If Mondesi stays healthy, that guy's just absolutely electric, and Kansas City will let him run. They've got a lineup that could do some damage, and I mean they're not going to compete, but I think they could be fun to watch, and they could give some of these other teams a hard time for sure.
Yeah. Well, all right. So we'll start with you, Marvin. What do you got as your predictions for this division?
We're gonna go with the official prediction here.
I got
White Sox. White Sox easy choice. Tigers number 2. Twins are in the hunt. I think the Royals and Guardians are a tier below everybody else.
All right, Jeremy, what do you got?
Well, mine's pretty much the same. I'm going with Chicago.
Okay.
Detroit to compete for the last wild card, and then Minnesota 3rd, and then the Royals and the Guardians bringing up the
All
boot.
right, Richard, what do you got?
So, as I talked about earlier, I'm picking the Guardians to take the division. Pitching and defense, obviously, if they get rid of Jose Ramirez, this pick is just out the window.
Yes.
But this owner has shown in the past that if they're in the race at the midseason, they will make some moves. And they've got a pitching staff that can keep them in there. I'm not convinced that Chicago can stay healthy. I'm not big on Andrew Vaughn, so I'm going to go Guardians 1. I'm actually going to go with the Guardians being the only team out of the division that makes the playoffs. I'm going to actually go the Tigers 2, the White Sox 3, and the Royals bringing up the rear.
Where's the Twins finishing at?
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
That's right.
Twins are going to be 4. I'm not, like I said before, I'm not big on the Twins.
So I've got the White Sox winning the division as much as it pained me, but I got the Guardians finishing 2. I got Minnesota, Detroit, and Kansas City in last. So got some differences there. We're going to find out who at the end of the season got closer there. So we'll go to the NL West, where we'll start with Houston because they were the division winners last year. Houston didn't add anybody. I mean, you go down through the list of who they added. The only person that I could even possibly mention was Lewis Brinson because of the potential that he did have at one point, but that's the only person they really added. They lost Carlos Correa. They lost Zach Greinke. And then they lost a couple good middle relievers in Kendall Graveman and Yimi Garcia. That's it. So what's your guys' thoughts on Houston?
McCullers is already hurt.
McCullers is hurt. He's out for at least a month, I think.
You're putting a lot of trust on a 41-year-old Justin Verlander.
I think they got him slotted as their number 3 starter. They got Framber Valdez and Jake Odorizzi at 2, but
I don't know. I'm not buying it. I don't buy this division as a whole. So I think it's all kind of up in the air. The Astros probably end up being the team out of this division just because, But I don't look at them as a contender to go anywhere past the division.
All right, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think their offense is what's going to win the division for them. And I mean, if you can get Garcia and Javier to pitch well to back up Verlander, because I mean he's not pitched in a while, and he's like Richard said, 40, 41.
Yeah. What are you thinking, Marvin?
I like the Astros. They've got the secret sauce, just like the Rays. This team has been in the World Series or the AL Championship, 5 of the last 6 years or some crazy number. Yeah. Verlander I don't know if you guys even care about this, but their starting pitching did not allow a single earned run in the spring until Verlander gave up a run in his final outing. So, their pitchers are pretty strong, and their offense isn't bad either. I mean, Kyle Tucker's going to be in the MVP conversation. Altuve's still one of the greatest of all time. Jordan Alvarez, this team's still pretty good. The AL West is not as strong as they used to be, but this is still the strongest team in the West. So I like this team to win the division and make a decent run at the playoffs.
All right. So next up, we'll go to Seattle. Seattle added Adam Frazier. They added Jesse Winker, Eugenio Suarez. They added Cy Young, Robbie Ray. They added Billy Hamilton, which could be a good player eventually, maybe. And really, the only person that they lost besides some of their bench was Kikuchi. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I never have figured it out for sure, but that's really the only person they lost worth worrying about. So, Richard, what about Seattle? They get better or worse?
They are so much better. They added Julio Rodriguez.
Well, added technically, yeah, okay, yeah.
Let's not forget that. I think Jared Kelenic is going to be a stud. Nobody remembers how bad Mike Trout was in his first season in the majors, but Kelenic's a stud. Mitch Haniger has had an injury-prone label for a while, but he's actually had 2 or 3 seasons in a row of health. I love Julio Rodriguez. I love this general manager. I'm all in on the Mariners. I think they're going to be really fun to watch.
Mhm.
I've got a very Detroit Tigers feel about them. I don't think they're going to win the division. I don't think they're there, but I think they're going to be really fun to watch. And I think, with this general manager, they're going to keep pushing, until they get there. I mean, it's been 20 plus years since they made the playoffs now.
Oh my gosh, has it been that long, really?
Yeah, it's been. Well, I mean,
Man.
Ken Griffey was on the last playoff team, I think, wasn't he?
Wow.
Yeah,
I
the
know,
last
but
time the Mariners made the playoffs was the 110 win season. They have a banner hanging in the rafters that celebrates 10 wins, I think 2001, which is also kind of a joke because you point out and say, yeah, it's the last time they made the playoffs.
Now, I think that they played the Indians that year. I think. I'm not positive, but I'd have to go back
The
and
Yankees, I'm pretty sure the Yankees knocked them out. But here,
Okay,
since I
maybe.
jumped in, I'll just continue.
Yeah,
I'm
go
in
ahead.
Seattle. I'm a season ticket holder. We are excited about this team. I don't know who remembers this, but the Mariners were in the wild card hunt until the final week of the season last year. Baseball was on fire in September in Seattle last year. The organization has all these young guys coming up, and they saw fans increasing for the first time in 20 years, and they went buy, and they just brought in as much as they could for a small market. Plus, they've got the All-Star game next year. When you got the All-Star game, that's the time that you want to bring in the talent. So I've got the Mariners as one of my wild card teams. They were right on the edge last year, and they're a lot better. And Team Julio Rodriguez all the way. He's like Fernando Tatis. He's 2022 Fernando Tatis. Get ready to see him on the cover of MLB The Show next season.
All right. Jeremy, what do you think?
I'm on board team J-Rod as well. Let's just make that unanimous. I'm going to say Rookie of the Year.
All right.
And yes, I'm like Richard. I think this has got the Tigers feel to it. They got a lot of young talent, and they're not afraid, and obviously not afraid to bring it up with Kalinick last year and then J-Rod this year and adding Robbie Ray. I think they'll push the Astros, and they're going to be a fun team to watch.
I believe so. Then we'll go to Texas. Texas spent some major money this offseason, getting Marcus Semien, Corey Seager. They got Mitch Garver. They got John Gray. And really the only people that they lost was Jordan Lyles because he had 10 wins and led the team. And then they lost Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. But that's it. That's all they lost. So, Jeremy, do you think Texas got any better?
Yeah, they got a little bit better, but I don't think they're in the hunt for the division.
No,
but
their pitching is too. Their pitching's horrible. I mean, their offense is going to be great, but pitching is horrible. That's my opinion. You guys give me your opinion. Go ahead.
Yeah, their pitching is trash.
Yeah, without you looking, nobody look. Can anybody name their 5 starting pitchers? Can anybody name 2?
Didn't they sign John Gray?
Okay, that don't count. That don't count. I already said him. That doesn't count.
I didn't hear him.
Okay, name 2 others besides John Gray. Anybody?
No.
By September, they'll have Jack Leiter called up. He's going to be a pretty good little talent.
Yeah. Okay, so their number 1 pitcher they got listed is John Gray. They got Martin Perez, Dane Dunning, Taylor Hearn, and AJ Alexi. Yeah, now, that's not scaring anybody in the playoffs. I'm telling you right now. So
that's not scaring anybody in the regular season.
In the regular season, yeah. So, Richard, what do you think of Texas?
This Texas team just reminds me of so many other teams that have failed in the past. They went out and they tried to plug some holes and put some pieces in there, but they've got really no farm system outside of Jack Leiter. I love Marcus Semien, myself. I think he's a great player, but he can't do it all himself. I think John Gray's in for a really good season coming out of Colorado, but outside of that, if this team finishes over 500, especially having to play the Astros, having to play Seattle, I'll be shocked.
Yeah. Marvin?
Yeah, so Texas was building a very expensive, gorgeous new stadium. They decided they had to win now and build the right team for that. And it flopped. They went from pitching in the matchbox to pitching into a gigantic stadium that nobody can hit home runs in. And this team's not built for that style of baseball. So we're going to have a few transitionary years where they work towards more pitching, less hitting, figuring out guys who can clear the ballpark. Like, this team's going to have some learning curve to get over all of the misfire on the new stadium ramp up that just did not work. This is probably guys trying to save their job bringing in Simeon. But yeah, they're going to be bad, and they're going to be bad for a few years.
And then we got the Angels, who brought in Noah Syndergaard, but they lost Dylan Bundy and Alex Cobb. So that's really the main signings of this team. They didn't really do much. And, Mike Trout's got to be so frustrated, I would think. But what do you guys think of the Angels?
Are losing Alex Cobb losing Alex Cobb and Dylan Bundy really? Could that be addition by subtraction?
Well, Alex Cobb did go 8-3 last year, so he had a decent year. No, Dylan Bundy. No, I shouldn't even have mentioned him. He did go 2-9 with over a 6 ERA, so never mind on that one. So yeah, but getting a healthy Noah Syndergaard could be huge because he's been lights out this spring. But it is spring training. I don't put a lot of focus on spring training.
So for me, they've got a good lineup. I think Rendon's going to be better this year. Obviously, you've got Mike Trout. You've got Shohei Ohtani. They've got a great manager in Joe Madden, and Joe Madden let Ohtani bat on days that he was pitching. Whereas they hadn't done that in the past. And I believe there's actually even an Ohtani rule now where like he can come in the game as a hitter or something after he's done pitching. There's some kind of new rule there,
like whatever inning. It has to be late in the game or something like that. I forget what it is, but yeah.
But I mean, if they can go and find some pitching for whatever reason, Artie Moreno has spent just a shit ton of money and can't get any kind of results out of it. But if they can find some pitching, they've got an offense. They could make a run at a wild card. But I just don't like this division at all. I really wish I could pick the Mariners to just win the whole thing because I hate the Astros. But I think Texas and the Angels are very, very similar. They've got no pitching outside of Ohtani and John Gray, and they've got a potential really solid offense, but it's just not a team that's built to do anything.
Now, is there any certain reason you hate the Astros? They didn't have to beat a team or anything like in the playoffs or anything? Like,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. There's somebody banging a trash can in the
background.
All right. So, Marvin, did you give your input on the Angels?
Yeah, no, I'll jump in here. So you didn't mention it, but Justin Upton just was designated for assignment. Clearly, the Angels, I think what their goal right now is sell season tickets for the price of admission of Ohtani and Trout, but build for the future. They've got kids all over the place. The Upton cut was because Brandon Marsh and Joe Adell are both getting a shot in starting outfield. Jared Walsh is a very impressive looking first baseman. They're going with a 6-man rotation this year, which is pretty fun. Keep an eye on Reed Detmers. He had a fall call up last year. He strikes out a lot of guys. 6-man rotation. He could be the ace 2 or 3 years from now. I mean, there's no such thing as an ace in Anaheim/LA, but if they ever find one, Reed Detmers could be the guy. So I don't love them, but maybe I love them 2 or 3 years from now when Trout's gone and Ohtani is retired because of Tommy John surgery. But yeah, not this year's team.
So then we'll go to the Oakland dumpster fire. This right here was rough. They added 0 players. I mean, there's a list here, but there's nobody worth even mentioning. But they did get rid of Matt Olson. They got rid of Yan Gomes. They got rid of Starling Marte. They got rid of Mark Canha. They got rid of Matt Chapman, Chris Bassett, Sean Manaea, and soon to be after him will probably be
Frankie Montas.
Frankie Montas. Yes, couldn't think of his name off the top of my head, but he's going to be going too. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a unanimous thing here if they got better or worse. I don't know how you could possibly think they got better, but let's go ahead. Richard, what do you think about Oakland?
They actually, I don't know if you saw it, they actually just traded third base as well, not the player, the actual base.
Did they?
So they're just going to play with first, second, and home this year. But yeah, no, I mean, obviously they're burning it to the ground. You know, Billy Bean, you gotta give him a lot of credit. He's not the general manager anymore, but he's still the head of baseball ops. You know, he's got a lot of that. He's got a lot of that Tampa Bay flair about him. I mean, he was played. Brad Pitt played him in a movie.
That's a great movie too.
You know, but yeah, it's going to be real bad this year. But don't be surprised if they're back before you know it. But yeah, their over-under's 70.5 right now. I'm smashing the under. I just it's going to be ugly.
Jeremy and Marvin, you got any comments on Oakland?
I think the better option would be just to see where we think Frankie Montas will end up when he's traded instead of talking about the team.
Could be.
What contender will trade for him?
Well, I mean, you mentioned
the Mets.
You know, the Mets.
I'll go with the Braves.
The Braves.
No,
the Red Sox,
I think
maybe.
I think he goes to the Mets. The Mets were in on Chris Paddock. They couldn't get the deal done.
Yeah.
But with Scherzer and the DeGrom news, they're looking for pitching. Steve Cohen's looking to make a name for himself. I think he ends up with the Mets.
It's a good chance.
And sadly, I think J.D. Davis is probably one of the pieces coming back, which is sad.
Yeah.
So for all my East Coast late night baseball fans out there, if you have the misfortune of Oakland being the only team on, wait about 22 games. Ramon Laureano is fun to watch.
Yes,
maybe somebody's got to make the All-Star team for this team right here, and it might be Ramon in like half of a season. Other than that, not a lot to get excited about. Faith that they'll be a good team again someday, but not in 2022.
No.
If Oakland's the only team on, take a nap and watch the KBO at like 3 a.m.
All right, Marvin, you go ahead and start us off with your predictions for this division.
All right, here's the official. We've got Astros. Houston. We also have the Mariners making the playoffs. We added a third team this year. They're getting that last wild card. Angels, Athletics. Notice the Rangers are way down at the bottom. I do not love this team. I mean, sorry, Texas. I just don't love you.
Wow. Richard, what do you got?
So I was unsure of how many wild cards we had. I couldn't remember. We added another one. So three. I'm going to be right there with Marvin at the top two spots. You got to put Astros winning the division.
Oh, you're going Seattle winning division?
No, I'm going with the Astros winning the division. I am going to put Seattle in the wild card.
Houston. Okay, Seattle in the wild card. Okay, gotcha.
Seattle in the wild card. Then I'm going to go Angels. I'm going to go Rangers, and I'm going to go Athletics. Actually, being worse than the Orioles this year.
I can see that. I can see that. Mm-hmm. Jeremy, what do you got?
I'm unanimous with Houston, Seattle 1-2. Mm-hmm. Angels in a distant third, and then you got Texas and Oakland, who probably should just turn off the TV.
Yeah. So I think I've got the same. I've got Houston, Seattle, Texas, LA, and Oakland. I almost went Seattle. I almost did. I'm with you guys on this. They're a great young team. It's going to be fun to watch. I almost picked them to win. So what we'll do now, well, actually, before we do the playoffs, let me give a shout out to Blue Collar Media Group. I always like giving them a shout out because they're what makes this platform possible. So their slogan this year is Better Together. We're having this group of all pitching in together and helping each other. So I'm going to play a video here to show that real quick here.
Happy Thursday, y'all. Happy Thursday.
I'm your host, Andrew Kahn. This is the Boomtown Pod.
Add into the Lab Pod is where you're watching today's stream.
Stuck him!
It is Blue Collar Game Day. I am your host,
episode 277 of the Official Butthole Podcast.
Got it.
Beautiful.
Better together.
Better together.
We're better together.
Better together.
Better together.
All right, there we go. So with that in mind, we're going to do our playoff predictions. So like we mentioned, there's going to be 2 teams to get a bye in the first round. And then you're going to have 3 wild cards. And those wild card series are best out of 3. And the home team gets to host all 3 games if needed. So keep that in mind when you're making your predictions. So we'll go with Jeremy. Who's getting your first 2 byes in the playoffs?
That would be Toronto and the White Sox.
Toronto and the White Sox. Richard, who's getting your first 2 byes? The best 2 division.
Yeah, my 2 are going to be the White Sox and also not the White Sox, the Indians, the Guardians,
Guardians?
and
Okay.
the Guardians and the Rays.
Tampa Rays, okay. Marvin, who you got your 2 best teams?
I'm with Jeremy here. Blue Jays, White Sox.
Blue Jays, White Sox, okay. So I've got Blue Jays and Houston as my 2 best teams. I could easily see the White Sox, or I'm having trouble with yours, Richard, the Guardian. I'm a Guardians fan, trust me, I always have been, but I'd love to see it. I would. Hopefully you're right. So we'll move on to the wild card round, and you'll have to pick 2 wild card games. So we're going to go with the worst division winner and then 2 other teams that's going to play here. So I'll tell you mine first. I've got the White Sox beating the Guardians in my wild card game 1, and I've got Boston beating the Yankees in my wild card 2 game. So, Richard, who's going to be your wild card teams?
So I've got Boston
Okay.
beating the Blue Jays,
Okay.
and I've got the Mariners
Beating Houston.
beating the Astros.
Yeah. Okay. So Marvin, let's see. You're going to have Houston as a wild card team, and then who else you got in there?
Yeah, so Houston will be the wild card division winner. Top
Right.
wild card teams can be the Mariners, so that would actually schedule the Mariners against the Yankees, and then the Red Sox would play the Astros per my prediction. So
Okay.
as far as how that all goes down, I think the Mariners don't. I think the Yankees beat the Mariners.
Okay.
I do think that Houston beats the Red Sox.
All right. Jeremy, who you got in your let's see, your 3rd division winner would have to be Houston.
Yep.
And then you need 3 wild card teams.
Well, I got Houston beating Tampa Bay.
Okay.
And then I have the Mariners pulling off the shocker and close your ears, Richard, beating the Red Sox.
Ooh. All right.
Going all in this year.
So you got the American League. Okay, you said Boston over Toronto, Richard, and Seattle over Houston, right? Okay, so your American League Championship Series, Richard, who you got out of Seattle and Boston? Who's winning that?
This one hurts, but I'm actually going with the Mariners.
Ooh, so you got Seattle going to the World Series this year.
Yes, sir.
Ooh.
Ooh.
All right, Marvin, you've got Houston and the Yankees in the American League Championship.
So I got lost somewhere along the way because the Blue Jays and White Sox are also supposed to be in this hunt. So I'll just give you an American League
I'm sorry.
Championship.
Hold on. I did. I forgot the whole American League Division Series. Yeah, the American League Division Series. Okay, so actually, I'm sorry, Richard. You would actually have Seattle taking on Seattle would take on the Guardians. Sorry about that. So obviously you're picking Seattle to beat the Guardians.
Well, yeah, I was kind of wondering because I thought we were a little off there.
Yeah, yeah, that's my bad.
But in that case, I'm actually going to take the Guardians over the Mariners.
Okay, and then you got Tampa and Boston.
And I've got Boston over the Rays.
So your American League Championship Series is Guardians and Boston.
Yes, sir.
And who's winning that?
Well, the Red Sox are going home.
Oh,
I'm riding Shane Bieber all the way to the World Series.
Okay.
Richard loves that.
So, Marvin, you've got in the American League Division Series, Toronto hosting, I believe it would be, well, actually, it'd be New York or Houston, whichever one you got being the better out of Toronto and Chicago.
Yeah, so let's just do this. The 4 teams I have left should be the Astros, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the White Sox.
Right.
However, these 2 teams square off against each other. We're going to have the Astros and the White Sox in the championship series together.
All right, so who's going to the World Series for you?
We're going Chicago White Sox are going to be the 2022 World Series champions. They're going to beat whoever in the National League, the Dodgers, actually.
All right, so Jeremy, your final teams are Toronto, the White Sox, Houston, and Seattle. So who's your 2 American League championships?
Mine would be Toronto and Houston.
Okay.
And Toronto going to the World Series.
Toronto going to the World Series.
Yes.
All right, so my American League Championship Series is Toronto and Houston. And I've got Toronto going to the World Series also. So Jeremy and I are pretty much the same almost. So...
and we did not talk about this beforehand.
What's that? No, we didn't. We did not
coordinate our picks.
No, it's not involved with any kind of trades we got going on in fantasy sports or anything like that. Right. So next week, what we're going to do, it'll be a whole different setup. I've got it all worked out. We're going to do recap the first weekend of the season. We are going to preview the first week of the season. We're going to talk fantasy sports. We're going to give fantasy advice on setting your lineups and pickups you need. I got a segment called 3 Up and 3 Down. We're going to preview 3 good players, 3 players we think are trending down. And if you guys got any input of what you'd like the setup to look like, I'd really appreciate it. It's going to be new, so I'm sure it's going to change over the first full season we get to do this. We had a lot of fun last year. We only got to start in the playoffs because Marvin was there, and I believe Gene was there also. So it'll be interesting to see how we can evolve the show all season long. And I hope you guys get to be part of it each week. That'd be great.
We do World Series picks yet? Who we picked to win the World Series?
Well, we picked last week who we thought was going to go to the National League, and then this week, we did the American League. So we didn't really do overall.
Okay. Do we have time to do Rookie of the Year and MVPs real fast?
If you want to do it, go right ahead. I'll write it down. Who's your Rookie of the Year?
My Rookie of the Year is going to be Spencer Torkelson from the Tigers.
Okay.
My AL MVP is going to be the full season Guardian, Jose Ramirez.
Okay.
And
so your Cy Young is who?
My Cy Young is going to be Mr. Shane Bieber.
Richard, you can come over. I'll get you a seat if you want a fan card. I'll tell you right now.
Woo!
Marvin, who you got as the Rookie of the Year?
We're gonna go with some Seattle. Let's just go with a whole bunch of Seattle. We're gonna go with J-Rod for Rookie of the Year.
Right, no surprise there.
And let's just say Robbie Ray's gonna repeat. I think he's gonna find some magic in Seattle.
Okay.
As far as the MVP goes, we're gonna keep it out west. Kyle Tucker.
Okay, I can see that. Jeremy.
I'm gonna go with J-Rod as Rookie of the Year.
Okay.
Bo Bichette as MVP.
Ooh.
And we're going to go with a dark horse and say Dylan Cease wins the Cy Young.
Well, this kind of caught me off guard, but I'll go ahead and make my predictions also. Rookie of the Year, I'm definitely going with J-Rod. I mean, I really am excited to see how good Julio Rodriguez does. And National League, we didn't get to pick him last week. But I'm going to go with O'Neal Cruz because I believe he gets called up soon, and he's going to be a beast. American League MVP, I agree with Matt. I'm going with Kyle Tucker. It could be Jose Ramirez. I mean, if the Guardians actually make it that far, I think he has to get some serious votes for carrying that team on his back because nobody else is going to, except for maybe Franmil Reyes. But Cy Young, if he stays healthy, I'll go with Shane Bieber also.
Bobby Bradley, baby.
Bobby Bradley is a good young talent, and he started okay last year, so I'm hoping he does good. Bobby Dahlback's another interesting one, in Boston, but he can't be rookie of the year, can he? I mean, he played too much last year, I think.
He's not even the best first baseman on the team. Tristan Cassius is going to be just a stud.
Well, we can do that. So again, I thank you all for being on here tonight, taking your time out of your night. I appreciate it like always. I love having you guys on, and hopefully you can be on next week with the first show of the regular season. And again, if you have any ideas, send them to me in a messenger. I'd really appreciate it because, I just got some ideas, but it always helps getting other people's input. So with that being said, I'm going to play the Blue Collar Media Group actual stream team video to take us out, but I'll see you guys next week.
And then you can access your stream deck with your mind. Dim our key lights, bro.
Connect to your stream deck via catheter.
Oh! Yo! Clip that! Clip that headshot!
On the ladder.
You got both of those.
One more now.
I got it.
Finish
him.
Yo! No fucking way! Let's go! Yo, that guy in the heli, he was all the way across the bed!
I think they've shut the door on these people.
Oh my god! That flick!
Tough battle.
Got him! Beautiful!
Another handful down.
That's it. Okay.
See?
You just died? No, someone fucking walked into the room that I was in as I was about to walk out and scares the fuck. You yelled.